Hello, I'm Peter Frank and I'm with painter, artist Nooshin Farahpour in her home and studio in Los Angeles. Nooshin Farahpour is an abstract painter with a particular approach to her painting. She's a mark maker, but she's also a pattern maker. And out of this merging of impulse and rhythm comes a kind of work that seems to be notational, even alphabetic, but the idea is not that the work be read or not, but that it be comprehended, seen and for what it is, an image of coherent marks, with the emphasis on the coherence. You're naturally an abstract painter, so I'm not going to ask you how you came to be painting abstractly. But I am going to ask you how you came to be working with marks that seem to be embodying a kind of a language that no one can speak and everyone can recognize.
When I started painting right before the LA Art Show that I was painting day and night, I was spending a lot of hours painting. I'm naturally a storyteller. As a kid, I had a mirror in my room and I used to sit in front of the mirror, and there was a storyteller back in Iran, Mrs. Atafi, that I used to copy her, and I used to just like sit in front of the mirror and tell stories. And as I was painting, a lot of times I feel like there's just a lot that I want to say as I'm painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of writing that I have, there's a lot of inspiration behind it that not only inspires me, but I feel like it needs to also be shown in my work. I started playing with colors and just painting, and then it ended up like this one. It ended up talking about diversity. And I know that it doesn't show diversity, but I actually wrote in it. So every single one of my work has a story and has something to say.
Has a story embedded in it.
Yes.
Even though we can't read the story or perhaps envision the story specifically, we sense the presence of the story there. A recounting of a story per se, but like a poem in which everything comes to us in symbolic terms.
Mm.
And the symbols are actually the notations. And the notations do not spell out the story, but represent its spirit.
Glad that you noticed that. As a kid, I used to always write and draw and write. And writing and painting were the two outlets that I feel like saved me in so many ways, in so many occasions. And as you were talking, I was looking at this one. This one is about everlasting. And yes, there's a lot of writing and there's a lot of unspoken words that I wanted to bring it into existence. And that's my way of creating it and showing it.
Now, of course, there is a tradition of working with calligraphy throughout the Muslim world, especially in Iran. Some of Iran's best-known abstract painters, like Zandarudi, for instance, work from interpretation of their versions Arabic scripts. I can see the presence of that Arabic script in your mark making, but you take it farther. It's not here something that has been torn from the legible, but it's something that does not bother with the legible in the first place, but goes for the intuited. As you said, every picture tells a story in your case. It tells a story in its own language.
As I was painting, there are times that I feel like there's a need for me to just like write it. And I write it with whatever I have. In some of these, I remember even like having chopstick, and I even like used my chopsticks to just write in it. Write whatever I felt like writing. At one point, I felt like after a few hours of painting, I could just connect with the outside world. I talked to you the other day about that journey within.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that there are times that as much as I enjoyed that journey within, I found like places within me I would not even aware of it, or I would hesitate, go deeply there. But I did, like so many of these words just came up. One was survivor, as in this one. And that was the story of my life. This is the survivor. It's just like shows all the ups and downs in life. Every single one of them. There was one night, it was full moon, and I remember that in the middle of the night, in the middle of my painting, I actually started praying, not being a very religious person, but I started praying. Everything felt so powerful that even my presence, noticing everything about me and everything around me and everything within me, all of a sudden turned into a mass of gratitude and blessing. Painting for me, there are times that it feels like a journey of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of us has a purpose.
Well, your aspirations are recognizable enough and shared by enough artists, but your approach to them is unusual, is distinctive.
Thank you.
And it even takes the form of patterns as well as of notations. Of course, notations assume a patterning, a kind of a syntax of mark making, to use them in this expressive way. And it's an expressive way that is at once revelatory. You're putting yourself and your stories and your feelings out in front of us, and secretive, because you're putting out these stories, these ideas, these feelings of yours in a way that is manifested in an untranslatable fashion. You've embedded this information, this spirit of yours, but it comes through in its presence rather than its articulation. The articulation are the lines and the dots and the strokes themselves, so that we have a kind of a multi-layered experience, your small work and large, whether the small works were looking like illuminated manuscripts or pages in a princely book, large paintings looking like declarations on the wall. So this work is at once transparent and opaque, beautiful and mysterious, even obvious and obscure. And it's not like you're trying to have it both ways. I don't get a feeling of you're playing tricks. I get a feeling of you're working out of necessity and working from a place that personifies you, your ideals, your self-regard, and most of all, your embrace of the world.